All right, guys, so we're going to start off the day talking about boring stuff, okay? Boring stuff. We're going to talk about Biden economics, Bidenomics, right? And guys, I'm going to tell you something about Bidenomics right off the bat. They said that Reaganomics, right, is voodoo economics. That's what they said. Supply side economics is voodoo economics. That's what the people on the left say, right? That's what they say. But I'm going to tell you something. Bidenomics, right? Like, what this man is trying to sell the American people is nothing but horse shit, okay? Because this dude is insisting massive government spending 3.5 to 4.5 trillion more dollars and putting more money into the economy will tamper down inflation, okay? I'm laughing because it's just so stupid to think about, right? It's so stupid to think about the fact that the president of the United States is trying to sell to the American people that spending more money, that the government printing more money is going to tamper down on the massive inflation that we're seeing, okay? Now, I mean, I want to see, is the left going to call Biden out on this voodoo here, okay? Because if there's some voodoo economics, this right here is voodoo economics. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, guys, in regards to the economy and the market, right? We've seen the biggest drop this year in the market, in the Dow Jones. The S&P 500 took quite a tumble, and investors are worried. Right, they're worried about this new Delta variant, okay, and they're also worried about inflation, right? And the reason why they're worried about inflation is because the Federal Reserve could reverse their monetary policy, their easy money policy, and start to increase interest rates. As really, guys, to be quite honest with you, the market has kind of been artificially held up anyways by the federal government through their unprecedented actions last year in regards to, dropping interest rates to nearly zero and also buying up corporate bonds at an unprecedented level, basically injecting money into these big businesses in preparation for the pandemic, which basically artificially inflated the marketplace. And that's why we saw one of the largest bull runs that we've ever seen, okay, happen last year, even though there was less real economic activity, right? It just kind of shows you how disconnected the market is from how the American people are actually doing. It's kind of messed up to think about, but it's just how it is, right? And this is why I talk about topics like this, because I want you guys to be aware of it and to take advantage of this type of stuff. So let's read more about Biden's voodoo economics here in regards to his spending plan and go from there. President Biden said Monday that Congress needs to pass his sweeping economic agenda in order to tamp down rising inflation amid concerns that another burst of government spending will act as an accelerant to already rapidly rising consumer prices. Quote, as our economy has come roaring back, we've seen some price increases, the president said, speaking with the White House. Quote, some folks have raised worries that could be a sign of persistent inflation, but that is not our view. Biden said that his administration was doing everything we can to address the higher than expected inflation, but he pushed back against fears of persistent inflation and maintained his stance. The recent surge in consumer prices is temporary. Okay. He says, look, we bought this economy back from the brink. First of all, no, you did it. Okay. You did that off the back of Trump. What the Trump administration did in the last year, right, with the spending that they did, that some conservatives may or may not agree with, but I would argue that at the time it was needed because we artificially shut down the economy, right? I mean, what else are you going to do? And also off the back of the vaccines being developed under Trump, right? So Biden, again, is taking credit for things that Trump did. There are going to be ups and downs, he said. Reality is you can't flip the global economic light back on and not expect this to happen. As demand returns, there is going to be global supply chain challenges. Now, that's interesting because one of the biggest things that are driving inflation right now is used car prices, right? And this is happening because we have a global chip shortage, right? We have a shortage of semiconductors, right? And there's multiple reasons for this. The pandemic is one of them. The trade war between the U.S. and China is another one. And there's also apparently a massive drought going on in Taiwan, right? And Taiwan has one of the largest semiconductor companies in the world, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, traded as a publicly traded stock. If you guys didn't know, you can buy that in the U.S. But yeah, they're experiencing a crazy drought. And if you guys didn't know, you need water to make semiconductors. Okay, water is an important component of manufacturing semiconductors. So a lack of water will make it harder to manufacture semiconductors at a certain level, which is contributing to the shortage, right? And because of that, that has driven up the price of used cars. That's why we're seeing that. And that's also why Congress passed that Frontier Act in order to invest in domestic semiconductor chip manufacturing to combat that. That's just a fun fact about that part of inflation. The government reported last week that prices for goods and services jumped by the most in 13 years, fueling concerns that a rapidly rebounding economy could lead to runaway growth. The Labor Department said in its monthly report that consumer prices rose 0.9% from May and 5.4% over the past year. Excluding volatile oil and gas prices, so-called core inflation jumped 4.5% over the past year, the largest increase since November 1991. Republicans have latched on to the inflation issues, blaming the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill that the Democrats passed without any GOP votes in March for the price spike and attacking Biden for moving forward with another $4 trillion in new spending. Biden's comments come as Democrats begin to make headway on their two-pronged economic plans, a bipartisan infrastructure bill that includes more than $500 billion in new spending and a $3.5 trillion spending plan that would dramatically expand the government-funded safety net. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer set a Wednesday deadline for a procedural vote to begin debate on the bipartisan infrastructure bill as Democrats simultaneously work out the details of a separate bill that would invest trillions in childcare, education, and support for families. Biden claimed the government investments would curtail rising inflation rather than inflame it. Quote, if we make prudent multi-year investments in better roads, bridges, transit systems, and high-speed internet, a modern, resilient electrical grid, here's what will happen. It breaks up the bottlenecks in our economy. He said these steps will enhance our productivity, raising wages without raising prices. That won't increase inflation. It'll take the pressure off of inflation. Woo, boy, that's some voodoo economics if I've ever heard it. I mean, listen, I think most people, right, from a bipartisan perspective, can agree on spending money on, roads, bridges, transit systems, high-speed internet, stuff like that, right? But that's not all they want to spend the money on. They want to spend money on expanding the social safety net. They want to spend money on all types of things that, really right now we just don't need. Okay, what people need more than anything is to go out and get a job, right? You got gas stations offering thousands of dollars in sign-in bonus just to come work, right? And to me, like I said, I've mentioned this before, this is the thing about politicians that really blows my mind when it comes to spending. They go out here and they say, we want to spend $3.5 trillion. We need to spend this much, but they don't know what the hell they want to spend it on, right? Instead of calculating, okay, this is how much it's going to cost for this is how much it's going to cost for that. All right, let's add all the things up that we know that we need, and then let's try to make that more efficient. Let's actually try to, cut out some of the pork. Let's make it as lean as possible and then come to a top line number. They start with a top line number and then, try to fill it in. And that's not how policy should be made, man. That's not how policy should be made. One thing I can say, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if this would have been that much different, if Trump was president, right? Or Republicans were in charge of the Senate. Or the House, or they won the House, or whatever, right? But one thing I can say is that Mitch McConnell is a stingy dude, right? He's a stingy guy, right? So I would find it hard to believe that McConnell would have spent $1.9 trillion knowing that we had already put trillions of dollars into the economy a year before and that we were going to open back up. Because at the beginning of this year, guys, everybody expected this year to have above average growth because we were going to be opening back up. So there was no reason really to continue to pour on top of that. But the Biden administration decided they want to do that anyways. So with that being said, the feds are, kind of afraid, right? Because they've been telling us that, listen, inflation is transitory. Don't worry about it, right? It's only going to happen for, a couple months, and then it's going to taper down. Now, they're conceding that it might be a little bit longer than that. Okay, as Jerome Powell came out and expressed some anxiety and said, yeah, this is a lot higher than we thought it would be, right? So much so that, we may or may not change our easy money policies, right? There's definitely pressure to do that. And I said at the beginning of this year, guys, I literally said at the beginning of this year, Fed said that, we won't increase interest rates for a couple years. And I said, no, they're going to increase it next year, right? It's going to be the beginning of next year is when interest rates are going to start to go back up. And the market knows that, right? That's why the market is reacting the way it is that they know that the Feds eventually are going to have to take the steroids out of the market, right? And let it support itself naturally. And even Janet Yellen now is saying that she expects to see several more months of rapid inflation, right? At first, again, like I said, they was like, oh, no. 1 or 2 months max. Don't worry about it. It's transitory. Now they're worried. They're, some speculation that they may change their easy money policies. And now they say this could be a lot longer than we think. All this is being said by the Feds, okay? Biden's still going out here trying to tell people that, well, we should spend $3.5 to $4 trillion more dollars, and that might tamper down on inflation. Again, I try to tell y'all, Democrats take advantage of the fact that their base is economically illiterate, right? That they don't know anything, okay? That they think that the government just spending more money is good all the time when it's not. What the Biden administration really should do is just wait, right? Wait. Let people get some jobs, right? Let them get jobs. And then, see what happens with inflation. And then from there, they should come to a bipartisan agreement on infrastructure that's paid for. That's in the ideal world what these politicians would do if they were actually, responsible. If you had somebody responsible running the government, but you don't. You don't have responsible people running the government. You have irresponsible people that are trying to stay in power and do it off the back of the taxpayers, okay? So we'll see what happens when it comes to inflation. But as we can see, the Fed and, Janet Yellen, Biden's economic team is starting to feel a little bit uneasy about what's going on here. So we'll see if that actually impacts whether or not the Democrats are going to try to spend all this money. Probably won't, but let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.